Welcome. In front of me I have the Huawei Nova 10 SE, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of it. So anyway, just pop it straight open. A little crappy hard reset knife. Okay, there we go. So that's all we get in the box, which is basically the full package. Charger, cable. The charger is a 66 watt charger, so a pretty freaking good charger. It's even written right here. And we get a case, and that's basically all that's important, I would say. Let's put on a case so you can see how it looks like with the case. It does protect cameras pretty well, so your little camera bump shouldn't get scratched up. The case does protrude a little bit higher than the actual camera bump, so should be fine. Now, when it comes down to the display right here that you can see right away, we're dealing with 6.6 inch display. It's a 1080p by 2400 OLED display, 1 billion colors, and only 90 Hertz refresh rate. Now, I'll be also comparing this to the just the Nova 10, the non-SE version. That was released a little bit before in July of 2022, while this is released October 5th, 2022. Now they did kind of do it, I would say, a little bit quickly, the more budget version. But let's see the price difference. The 10 SE comes at about 370 euros, while the Nova 10 comes at 500 though. Keep in mind now it's a little bit older device, so it probably would be also closer to this price tag. So I'm actually gonna check this out, because this will be a very crucial difference. If the phone comes at about the same price right now, then there's really no reason to go for the SE, because the first one, the Nova 10 non-SE, is better. So let's see. Now obviously if you're in the US, probably getting hands on this phone is close to impossible, but in most of the Europe I think it's just fine. So we got about 1,700. Let's see. I'm gonna quickly check it. So honestly, the price is almost the same. 370 euros that this supposedly costs is the lowest price I've, at least in a span of 1 minute, found it on Polish site called Allegro, and it's coming at $1,799. A little bit more expensive, but keep in mind that euro to PLN is basically almost 4 PLN or 4.7 PLN to single euro. So to convert this, $370 is basically 1,739 PLN, and this is only like 60 PLN more. So price is almost exactly the same at the time of recording this. So if you're thinking about picking up a Huawei device, I would probably recommend in this case going for the normal Nova. Oh wait, my bad. Sorry, I just realized I'm an idiot. The price that I found for the 1,799 is for the SE, which would actually track pretty well. Let's see, just to quickly go over. So 1000, I just rounded up to 1800 PLN as the SE, and the Nova 10 non-SE is about 2500. So a little bit more. So 700 PLN more, which is about 160 euros more. So that is already a decent bump up to kind of maybe skew the perspective right here over which one is more worth it. So I'm gonna say this way: this phone is going to be worse than the Nova 10, but obviously costs less in this case. So question is, do you prefer more powerful device? And to go over it, I already mentioned part of the display, but to finish off the display, it's a OLED 1 billion colors, 90 Hertz refresh rate over the 120 that the Nova 10 has, and it has 395 pixels per inch and 87.6% body screen to body ratio. Now if we flip over to the cameras, we have a triple camera setup. The reason why I'm putting this in quotations is because we have a macro lens, and if you ever dealt with phones before, you will realize that this macro is absolute abhorrent garbage that shouldn't be on this phone, because you just have to pay for you just literally pay for garbage. That's the best way I can explain this. So you're paying for e-waste on your phone that is marketed to you as like it's some good thing, which is not. Just because you have 3 cameras doesn't make them good. Now the main one, which is 108 megapixel wide sensor, should be pretty good. It's the main camera that you'll be utilizing for basically everything. Then you have an 8 megapixel ultra wide, just a massive drop down from the 108. For ultra wide shots, it will do the job, but you might be seeing pixelations. It just won't be as crisp. And then we have the little insult of cameras right here, the 2 megapixel macro. Like, F off Huawei with these cameras. And I don't mean just Huawei, I mean every freaking manufacturer that adds these cameras for no reason. You're people that buy the phones, we're not idiots. We know you're trying to scam people with this, so just finally F off with this. Like, take your shit and just shove it up. Anyway, so the reason why I'm trashing the 2 megapixel camera, macro specifically, I will be also trashing the 2 megapixel depth, which I'm surprised they didn't add here, is because when you have a 108 megapixel wide sensor, you can just use a 2x zoom and capture a much higher detailed photo at much higher resolution than the 2 megapixel macro could ever produce. So it is absolutely useless with sensor like this as a main one. It just gets outperformed by just a normal non-macro dedicated lens, which, like I said, makes it absolute trash. Now, moving on to internals, we are dealing here with a Snapdragon 680G. It's a 4G chipset, so you're not even getting 5G connectivity. But to be completely honest, I don't think you're losing much on that. I highly recommend, if you're thinking about buying a phone with 5G, highly recommend checking out Mr. Who's the Boss video about it. He did kind of, he does give a good insight in that video of how the 5G infrastructure is going, basically, how it's advancing, and it's not the best. So anyway, so with that being said, 4G is basically your connectivity right here, and we have a couple options in terms of storage and RAM. At the very base model, we have 128 gigs of storage with 6 gigs of RAM, and at the highest one, 256 with 8 gigs of RAM. Now, I don't think we have expandable storage right here because this is Huawei, so even if we would have expandable storage, they are going to be using nano memory most likely. I could be wrong. No, never mind. I'm not wrong. I can see this based on the size of this tray. So here we have SIM, and I assume it's also a SIM. It's not labeled. Usually when you have a nano memory on the other side, it's... let me just try to catch this. It's probably going to be impossible. Stop reflecting light like this. So hopefully you can see there is written, you have writing SIM here, and usually instead of SIM on the other side, you would see NM in the same kind of style. But as you can see, there's nothing here. So it leads me to believe we don't have expandable storage right here. So that's a little bit, well, not the greatest. Now, moving on to the last part, which would be the battery size and all that stuff. We have a 4500 mAh battery with a 66 watt wired charging, and we can also reverse wire charge at 5 watts, so we can charge other devices with this one. And now usually that would be good if you have I don't know, maybe like 5000 mAh battery. At 4.5, I probably wouldn't be utilizing that all that much. Now, anything else here to mention? We don't have Google Play services, which I'm pretty sure comes as no shock to anybody. It's Huawei still. And we're running EMUI 12, meaning this is actually running Android instead of the Harmony OS that some other Huawei devices might be running. So you have Android here, but you don't have Play services. So if you rely on things like Gmail, YouTube, or any of that stuff, you might not like this device all that much, because it's basically lacking in all of it, and installing it from previous experiences, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. So there we go. Now, to quickly compare this phone to the older version, the better one, the difference is older one had a smaller battery, better processor, crappier camera, better display, as in instead of 90 it had 120 Hertz. It also had the 50 megapixel wide sensor, 8 megapixel ultra, and 2 megapixel depth, so they decided to drop the depth. Guess it was completely useless for another useless lens as 2 megapixel macro. And it's primarily all worth mentioning. Also same kind of charging speed, same reverse wired charging, and just higher price tag. So in the non-SE version, you paid more for the processor, which was a little bit better, being Snapdragon 778G, also 4G chipset, which, like I said, is just more powerful over this 680G right here. And that's primarily all the difference that there was. The main focus was power. So anyway, with this being said, there's not much more to say about this device. It's just another Huawei device. So if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.